Good morning. I'm Mike Flood. I represent the 1st Congressional District in Nebraska, and I'm the chairman of the Housing and Insurance Subcommittee, joined by the ranking member of the same, Emanuel Cleaver, congressman from the Kansas City area in Missouri. So I want to start by saying that this is how Congress should work. This is what people do when they want to be serious about policy, and I couldn't be more pleased today to be here with somebody who I greatly admire. Mr. Cleaver and I have worked really well on this legislation. The Home Reform Act was last authorized in 1992. And out of all of the HUD programs, this is the one that directly touches housing affordability. And as we know, America right now is facing a housing crisis. We are 5 million units short. That pushes up values, makes property taxes more expensive, it makes home insurance premiums more expensive, and it's stopping young people, people under 40, from getting an opportunity at the American dream, which is buying their own house. So what have we done with the bill that's been introduced on a bipartisan basis? We're cutting red tape associated with environmental NEPA requirements, the Build America, Buy America program, the Section 3 requirements to expanding eligibility. The Home Reform Act of 2022 takes an existing federal program and it will help it deliver more quickly so that more working families can live the American dream. This legislation is the result of a long, thorough process. When I started as the chairman, I met with the Republicans on our committee, and then I met with our ranking member. He and I together met with the Democrats on the committee, and we had a conversation about what was important, and the issue is home affordability. And so what we did is we asked America, by making a video, to send us your ideas on how to remodel this federal program. We got 144 different submissions. He and I each picked 12, so we had 24. We spent the better part of 6 hours here in Washington interviewing each and every one of them, whether it was on Zoom or in person. And what we heard was a consensus among blue city Democrats, among red state Republicans, from San Diego to Huntsville's Habitat for Humanity to Cleveland, Ohio, to Lincoln, Kansas City. And we used that input to draft the bill that's under consideration right now and we'll be having a hearing on later in December. So the other thing you need to know is that this doesn't happen without the help of all the different folks that actually go to work every day to make things happen, like the National Association of Realtors, the National NeighborWorks Association, the National Community Development Association, the National Association of Home Builders, just to name a few. This bill has broad support from the developers, the financiers, the nonprofits, and state and local governments. And by the way, this is on top of an expansion of LIHTC, which is the federal tax credits that directly address home affordability passed in the One Big Beautiful Bill. So I have to say this, we would not have gotten here without Congressman Emanuel Cleaver. He is an actual gem of a person. He has a distinguished career in Congress. And it's been a delight to work with him throughout the entire process. And when he tells you he cares about home affordability, he means it. And so we will also be hearing from Sean Donovan, the president and CEO of Enterprise Community Partners, Jonathan Reckford, with the CEO of Habitat for Humanity International, which, by the way, just named the Omaha chapter as their best in the nation, and David Dworkin, the president and CEO of the National Housing Conference. So I want to turn it over to Congressman Cleaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yesterday, like many yesterdays in that joint back there, had some difficult moments and even some ugly moments. But the ugliness, I think, of yesterday has given way to, I think, the coming sunshine from those of us who have an opportunity to address one of the nation's most significant problems. I have appreciated having the chance to work with Mike Flood. That's what I say when he's not around, and will continue to say. It has been a blessing and a joy for me. In a recent poll, and it shouldn't surprise anyone, only 3% of Americans believe the housing costs in our country are reasonable. 3%. And most Americans believe that housing costs are too high. In the majority of the United States, the average renter's wage is no longer enough to even afford a one-bedroom rental. Please understand what this means. Working class American families that cannot afford to rent are increasingly becoming homeless. Working class American families that cannot afford rent are also locked out of home ownership. I think about my own children and my nieces and nephews, and it causes me to tremble just at the notion that they may not be able to buy a house in the United States of America. And so we are attempting to address one portion of the problems of affordability. And I think that the legislation we're doing, we're working at the same time trying to manage to connect the Senate bill. There are good people there working on it. I am encouraged by the fact that they are very much committed to it, and I'm hoping that one of these days, not too far in the distant future, will come out, even if it's snowing, to announce that we were able to get this package before the entire Congress and to the President's desk. So I'm also very pleased that Sean Donovan, who was the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development a few years ago, who is now the CEO of Enterprise Community Partners, has been willing to give of his time, his expertise, and I think his enthusiasm for creating housing opportunities. And I am looking forward to working with him, as I am all of the men and women you see behind us, who also have given a great deal of time to move this legislation to where it is right now. I now introduce Sean Donovan.
Thank you. Chairman Flood, you said this is the way Congress should work. It is working because of your leadership and because of the ranking member's leadership as well. Let's give them a round of applause for this leadership. And I think I speak on behalf of not just all of the assembled leadership in the housing community here, but for millions of families that are struggling under this crushing affordability crisis, to say thank you for that leadership. It is enormously meaningful. And I will say, not just with experience at the federal level, but I lead one of the largest housing nonprofits in the country, Enterprise Community Partners. And not only is home one of the most important housing programs we have in the country, it is the single most flexible tool we have that gets housing built in every kind of community around this country. We have a national crisis, but it is different in urban and rural communities, and home is the most flexible tool that we have. How do we know that? Because for every single dollar that home invests, we get $5 more invested into housing. It is catalytic in a way that no other program is. And not only has it made a difference on housing, but it's created 2 million jobs across this country and over $140 billion of economic activity through construction and community revitalization. But we also recognize, as the chair and ranking member have said, that a lot has changed in the last 3 decades since home was created. And communities across America are facing higher construction costs, greater demand, aging housing, and deeper affordability gaps. Without modernizing the home program, states and localities will be forced to cancel projects, slow down people's dreams, and live with outdated rules that are standing in the way of people reaching housing affordability. And so the Home Reform Act makes incredible common sense changes to this vital program by making it easier for partners to cut through red tape, move developments forward without unnecessary delays. And if enacted, we should recognize this will be the single most important legislative change in over 3 decades to home. Really, really important that we come together and get this passed. And that is because of the leadership of Chairman Flood and Ranking Member Cleaver. It'll help organizations like ours deliver solutions on the ground, but most importantly, it will help close the gap on the single most important economic barrier families are facing to affordability, which is their housing. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
We are very lucky to have Jonathan Reckford here. Chairman Flood mentioned he leads Habitat for Humanity. He is also one of the more remarkable leaders I've had the chance to work with over many decades. Jonathan, thank you for your leadership of Habitat.
Thank you. Good morning. It's an honor to be with you all. In my 20 years at Habitat for Humanity, housing has never been more unaffordable. And yet, if we can bring good out of bad, this crisis has created an urgency to act. And everywhere I've gone, housing now is at the forefront of conversations. From every mayor, now governors are recognizing they can't grow economies if we don't address housing. And from kitchen tables to Capitol Hill, we need to capitalize on this momentum and pass the impactful bipartisan Home Reform Act. As you heard from Congressman Flood, we are short millions of units of housing, and home ownership has never been further out of reach, as the gap between prices and what families earn has never been wider. Today, the average first-time home buyer is 40 years old, highest ever. 60% of Americans cannot afford a $300,000 home. In 2022, only 10% of the homes sold for less than $300,000. So the gap between income and affordability has become a chasm. And that's why the home program is so critical. It has been one of the most important ways for Habitat affiliates to build, buy, and rehabilitate homes, acquire land, and support down payment assistance. This bill reduces unnecessary red tape. It makes home more effective and more efficient, so organizations like Habitat and other housers can build more homes and bring the American dream within reach for more families. The chief driver of high prices is record low supply, caused by years of underbuilding, especially at the starter home and affordable part of the market. Housing instability, as you've heard from others, impacts workforce recruitment, education, public health, and addressing this crisis strengthens communities and supports economic growth. Habitat for Humanity works in 1,000 communities across the United States. Last year we were able to help 3 million people worldwide have new or improved housing. But we know that our efforts are far from sufficient, and this can only be solved with the public sector, private sector, and civil society working together. And it's where we're so grateful that Congress is taking a leadership role here. And this bill is really a model of bipartisanship, and I want to add my thanks to Representatives Flood and Cleaver for your leadership in making this possible. The time is now. Federal action is absolutely critical, and Congress has the opportunity to rise to this historic moment by passing the Home Reform Act. And when it passes, Habitat will be ready to build. So I'm grateful for your being here, and I have the honor of introducing David Dworkin, a great friend and a great friend of housing, who leads the National Housing Conference and has been such an important bipartisan voice in bringing together the housing community with real solutions. So over to you, David.
Thank you, Chairman Flood and Ranking Member Cleaver, for the opportunity to join you today to celebrate the introduction of the Home Reform Act. I'm David Dworkin. I'm President and CEO of the National Housing Conference. Founded in 1931, NHC is the oldest and broadest housing coalition in America. And we are committed to advancing tangible, impactful, and achievable solutions to our nation's affordable housing crisis, which is why we are so proud to endorse the Home Reform Act. The home program is critical to the production and preservation of affordable rental and homeownership opportunities in rural, urban, and suburban communities. Since 1992, 1.4 million units of housing have been produced with home funds, and home funds have helped an additional 400,000 families through tenant-based rental assistance. Every dollar of home fund leverages $5 in additional investments. Home investments have supported more than 2 million jobs and generated $140 billion in economic impact. This program is incredibly effective, but it can be more efficient, and that's what this bill does. The Flood-Cleaver Home Reform Act makes meaningful reforms to the program and promotes flexibility, streamlines program requirements and regulations, and reduces barriers to entry. A couple of examples: the bill increases the allowable income to 100% of AMI for home ownership, which is a much more realistic cap that impacts a lot more occupations that are struggling with home ownership. It also increases the allowable home price from 95% of the area purchase price to 110%. And I wish that wasn't necessary, but it sure is today. It exempts small projects, 15 units or less, from the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, which can dramatically increase the cost of housing at the expense of those who can least afford to pay it. And unfortunately, NEPA has often been used by NIMBYs to stop affordable housing development and to create delays. And the reality is that time is money when you're building housing, and delay can make the difference between having the housing or not at all. It simplifies NEPA compliance so that builders are not dealing with a whole array of different compliance requirements and having to sort through all of that. Despite the well-known dysfunction and partisanship in Washington, this bill and some of the other bipartisan initiatives that we've seen this year demonstrate that we do know how to work together and make good policy that addresses problems that we're all facing. That should not be a big deal, but it is. And so, thank you. I am so grateful to Chairman Flood and Ranking Member Cleaver for your leadership, as well as the collaboration of such a broad range of housing stakeholders who contributed to this work. I look forward to working with all of you to pass the Home Reform Act this Congress. We really cannot wait another day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're ready to take some questions. So I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Kurt from my office and Alex from Mr. Cleaver's office. These two gentlemen did a great job here. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to ask how President Trump's tariff policies are going to affect the issue of affordable housing, and if that's something that you might be factoring into how you're looking at lowering costs.
I'll tell you what, if you look at what it cost to build a home in 2020 compared to what it cost in 2023 or 2024, it went up over 100%. So we know that the president, I know that the president is focused on affordability. He's come out and said housing is a top priority for his administration. The majority leader came to me and the full committee chair and said we're going to focus on housing. And so we're going to take this opportunity to pinpoint one program, but I think you're going to see a focus on affordability like no other from our president and a Republican majority in Congress as we head into 2026.
I believe there's a potpourri of things that impacted housing, the cost of housing. And I don't think one thing solves the problem, because there was more than one thing that created it.
Yes. Well, one of the things that's great about what Mr. Cleaver and I are doing here today is that we're working on a mission that the Senate cares just as much about. And the fact that they pushed out, I mean, when was the last time the Senate beat the House to the table on any issue, right? They raced a bipartisan bill out of committee. They adopted it into the NDAA, which means they're serious about getting passed. And I know that the full committee chair and the full committee ranking member are in active discussions with Senate leadership on how to proceed, mixing what we're doing with what they're doing. And the good news about that, it means something's going to get done. So we lost 40-some days with the shutdown. We would have had this bill marked up and on the floor for the House to consider had we not shut down. But you'll see the House of Representatives and the Financial Services Committee take up this bill in the month of December with hopes that we can get it to the floor sometime just after the beginning of the year, if everything goes well.
But we have to keep in mind, this is a bipartisan bill, but for it to get across the finish line, it has to be bipartisan and bicameral. And we are in the process. I had a chance to speak with the chairman of the overall committee, French Hill, last night about it. I've spoken to Senator Warren. I think there is this maybe once in a decade opportunity, was more than 1 decade, to do something significant on housing, and I don't think anybody wants to let it float away.
And I'm the former Speaker of the nation's only unicameral, so this Senate thing's brand new to me. And I don't like it. But we're going to deal with it. Does anybody else have anything? Yeah.
Seeing any pushback, are there any obstacles that you can see to get this signed into law?
Well, I can speak to what he and I did. Like, we have put, Mr. Cleaver and I have put days of hours into getting a product that we think will meet with the favor of a great majority of the House of Representatives. That same effort's going to be required to merge with the Senate. But here's an issue where they clearly want to work on housing, and we clearly want to do it. So I don't know how it gets much better than that. There's always friction, right? Everybody's got something they need or want, and there's give and take. I'll tell you, we had that on this bill. I didn't get everything I wanted. Mr. Cleaver didn't get everything he wanted, but we made it work, and we have something that we're both very proud of, and that moves the needle. And that's what it's going to take on the next step as well. Oh, yeah.
Following HUD's notice of funding announcement and changes to continuing care programs, experts estimate that around 170,000 people are at risk of losing permanent housing and being pushed into homelessness again. Would there be bipartisan support for permanent housing, or do you agree with HUD's stance that it's a failed policy?
Well, as the chairman of the Housing Subcommittee, we've made a conscious effort this year to focus on home affordability, where in the past this committee has really surrounded itself with public housing. We are going to dive into that in 2026 and unpack some of those issues. Listen, public housing is not a perfect system. People need to be housed, and we want them to be housed, and we want to make sure it's done in the best possible way. And I know Mr. Cleaver and I will work on that issue. He cares quite a bit about it, and it's something our committee hasn't tackled this year, but I'm given your statement there, I'm sure that we will be addressing it. Anybody else have anything? Thank you very much for coming out, and thank you to everybody here.